through the review sheet and go over any questions that you might have. So the first thing we're going to look at is problems 1 through 5. Describe the transformation of each quadratic function. Is there one of these in particular that y'all want to look at? So 1 through 5, which one do y'all want to look at? Number 5. F of x equals negative 0.7 times x plus 4 squared minus 1. Now, when we look at these here, we're describing transformations. We have vertical stretch shrink. We have vertical stretch shrink, reflection across the x, our horizontal translation left right, and our vertical translation up down. There will not be a reflection across the y-axis or a horizontal stretch and shrink. I will not put those on the test. They are not on there. So here we only have four transformations. We have the negative, we have the 0.7, the plus 4, and the minus 1. Most likely, the most that any of the ones on the test will have is 3. It's not going to have 4. It'll only have 3 at most. The negative, if there's a negative where A should be, we're talking about a reflection across the x-axis, because the negative is purely talking about the reflection and nothing else. The 0.7, the number here, is talking about the vertical stretch or shrink. And this here would be a vertical shrink if the value is greater than 1. So if that number is greater than 1, it's a stretch. If it's between 0 and 1, it's a shrink. So 0.7 is between 0 and 1. So it would be a shrink. Our plus 4 tells us we're moving to the left or to the right. And this would be to the left. Our left-right is the opposite of what we think. The minus 1, anything we add or subtract, our k value is up or down, and it is exactly what it looks like. So this here would be down 1. 23. Inside the parentheses is opposite of what we think. Yes. Positive is left, negative is right. Questions on this one here. And again, it would be looking, because on the reference sheet, the back sheet of the review, I did include that there, the horizontal translation left right. H, inside the parentheses, are left right. K is our up and down. A is our reflection. If it's negative, if it's not negative, there is no reflection. And the value tells us vertical stretch or shrink. Questions on this here? Okay. 6 through 10, find the vertex and axis of symmetry. These here, 6 and 7, vertex form. Oh, I took number 10 off the thing. Yep. 6 or 7. Which one of those do we want to look at? 7. So vertex form. Now it's asking us to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. Now in the general form, the vertex for this here is h comma k. The axis of symmetry, x equals 8. H. Now if you want to, you can reference or put on that general form there that these two here are assigned to this one here. Because when we're just asked for the vertex and axis of symmetry, we're just looking for these here, especially if it's f of x, g of x. Now in the general form, f of x or y is equal to 8 times x minus h squared plus k. And really what we need to find is the value of h and k. A for this case is -3, but we don't need it. We're just finding the vertex and axis of symmetry. H, coming from inside the parentheses, so it would be 1. But since it's plus 1 inside parentheses and we're moving it outside of parentheses, it would be negative when we flip the sign. Since there is no number being added to the parentheses, it is 0. So h is 0, k is 0, telling us the vertex is negative 1, 0. Axis symmetry, x is equal to h. X is equal to negative 1. And I'm going to say it again and again today. We're going to be referring back to that reference sheet time and time again. Keep referring back to it. Find the values of h and k in this case. Plug in h, plug in k, you're done. Questions with the 6 and 7? Because 6 is going to be exactly the same way. I did post a video last night of the entire review sheet. It has every problem on the review sheet worked through. So if you do have additional questions, you can look there or ask me. 8 and 9. Which one do we want to look at?
8.
We're going to do one of them. I can look over 9 later, because 8, because I think most of the reason that we're saying 8 is because of the fractions. Yes? Oh.
I was just saying 9 because of the bigger fraction that would go. Oh, no, I was saying 9 because you had 6 stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
So 8. So this is standard form. On the back and about the middle, standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. It does give us vertex and axis of symmetry. The vertex, again, is a point. And it's given to us by the general form of negative b over 2a, comma f of negative b over 2a. Axis of symmetry. X is equal to negative b over 2a. So for us to find any of this here, we need to find the values of a, b, c. The value of a is negative 1/9. B is 2/5. C is negative 3. A is always going to be the number in front of x squared. B is going to be the number in front of x. And C is our term without a variable. A and B will never have a variable as a part of their value. A will never be negative 1/9 x squared. A is the number in front of it. It does not contain the x. So, questions on how we found A, B, C? Now, to find the first part, we need to find negative b over 2a. Well, our value of b is what? 2/5. The value of a is negative 1/9. Are you ready for the next part? Yes? Stick it into the calculator just as you have it right there. Let it do the calculations for you. Negative b over 2a for this here is 9/5. Negative b over 2a is 9/5. So that tells us the x value of the vertex, our negative b over 2a, is 9/5. Axis of symmetry was x is equal to negative b over 2a. We have all that there. Only thing we're missing is the f of negative b over 2a. Yeah. Just plug it back into the original function, replace all of the x values with 9/5. So what that will tell us that we have is negative 1/9 times 9/5 squared plus 2/5 times 9/5 minus 3. And I take the calculator again, negative 1/9 times 9/5 squared plus 2/5 times 9/5 minus 3. Type the whole thing in just as you see it. Once you replace that with x, hit enter, it gives you the value. Negative 66 over 25. And that's it. Number 9 would be the exact same thing. B would be negative 8, so negative negative 8 over 2 times negative 2. We get our value there, plug it back in to find the other value of the vertex. Questions on 6 through 9? All right. We're going to look at 11 through 15. 11 through 15 ask us to find the focus, axis of symmetry, and the directrix. Not asking for the vertex because, well, the vertex for this set is 0, 0. So any one of these in particular, 11 through 15, that y'all want to look at? 13? 14, yes. Now this one does look different than what we've seen so far because normally the square is not on the left side, but this is the exact same thing. That's the nice thing about equality. They're equal either way we write it, so we can flip it. Let's compare it to the general form. Because it's y equals, y is the variable without the exponent attached to it. This is our general form. Now to find what we need, the focus, directrix, axis of symmetry, we need the values of h, k, and p. The equation tells us a, h, and k. Well, a in our case is 8. H, is there a set of parentheses for h to be? No, so h is, and k is 0. That's part of the reason it's not asking for the vertex, because vertex h comma k is 0 comma 0. Focus. Directrix. Axis of symmetry. And again, I would just look straight at the back. Focus is a point, and in the standard form, general form, is h comma k plus p. Directrix, y equals k minus p. And axis of symmetry, x is equal to h. Again, I'm just going straight from the back of the review. Straight from the general forms. We have h. So the focus is 0 comma whatever k plus p is. Directrix, we still need to find k minus p. Axis of symmetry, x equals 0. The only two spots we're missing is what y equals and the y value of the vertex. Yes? Or y value of the focus, sorry, not vertex. But even this here, we have 80% because I do give points for having directrix as y equals in the focus, or direct. One more time. Axis of symmetry is x equals. The y equals and x equals, I do give points for that. So even this here, you have 80% of this question correct. Because what's the only thing we have left? K plus p and k minus p. Let's calculate k plus p. Well, we can't really do that yet. Do we have p? P is equal to what? 1 over 4. A, what's A? Calculator. 1 over 32. So K plus P, K is 0 plus so the focus is 0 comma 1 over 32. Directrix, we need to find K minus P. This is kind of nice. We can do it in the calculator or we can do it by hand. Doesn't matter which. 0 minus 1 over 32 is that's it. So again, I would keep referring back to that reference guide, that reference page for all this here. Because all we had to do is line up the information we had, plug in our values. Questions on 14? We feel good with 14. I'm going to go to 12. I want to do one where y is squared. Because we've done one where x was squared. Let's look at one that y is squared. Now, the general form, x is equal to a times y minus k squared plus h. We need a, h, and k, because if I get a, h, and k, we can use a to find p, and we have everything we need. A is 1 over 24. H, 0. K is 0. With x equals, make sure to be paying attention, because h and k are not, k is now inside, h is outside, yes? Luckily for this one here, even if you flip it, it doesn't make a difference, because h and k are both have the same value, so even if you flip them, it's still the same thing. Now, we do need to find p. P is equal to 1 over 4 k. Six. P is equal to 6. Questions on this so far? So the 1 over 4 times the number, that's our definition for P and A. A is equal to 1 over 4P. P is equal to 1 over 4A. I just haven't been writing 1 over 4A or 1 over 4P. But, focus. There's a point, since we have x equals h plus p comma k. Direct 6. X equals h minus p. Axis of symmetry, y equals k. We can fill in the value of k, because k is nice for this one here. H plus p comma k. K is 0. Y equals k for the axis of symmetry, so y is equal to 0. The only thing we don't have yet is h plus p and h minus p. Well, what's the value of h? 0. What's the value of p? 0 plus 6 is 6. So the focus is 6, 0. H minus p. 0 minus 6 is. That's it. So, questions up to 15. We're ready to look at 16 through 19. 16 through 19 will look a little different on the test, and the only difference is that the fact that the vertex is 0, 0 will be given to you in the instructions, not in the individual problem. Kind of like the homework. But the vertex tells you the value of h and k. Because hopefully you notice so far, no matter which equation we have, the vertex is still hk. It's always going to be hk for the vertex. Direct 6. We only have 2 equations for the direct 6. It's either x equals h minus p or y equals k minus p. Since we have y equals, it has to be our y equals k minus p. Only one of the 2 we have. Questions on that there? You get that so far, yes? Because again, I would be referring backwards. You might as well leave the reference sheet face up the whole time, if we keep referring back to it. Now, since the direct 6 is y equals k minus p, well, the equation it's connected to is our y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And to get our equation, we need 3 things: a, h, and k. We know 2 of them. We know that h is what? K is 0. Now to find p, or find a, I need to find p. A is equal to 1 over 4p. Now the direct has told us that we have k minus p, and its value is 2. So k minus p is 2. What's the value of k? So 0 minus p is 2. Well, 0 minus p is just negative p. Negative p. We don't really care what negative p value is. We want to know what p's value is. So we divide both sides by -1 to find out that p is -2. But the only reason we found p was to find a, because a is equal to 1 over 4p. So 1 over 4 times -2. -1/8. Do not want that. Questions on how we found A, H, and K? Plug them back in. So if we plug A, H, and K and we get y equals -1/8 times x minus 0 squared plus 0. If you put that on the test, you will get full points. Because that is correct. That is the correct answer. But we don't normally leave it that way. Because y equals -1/8. X minus 0 squared, we can just say is x squared. We don't put the plus 0 because there's no reason to. So if you left it as y equals -1/8 parentheses x minus 0 close parentheses squared plus 0, I will count it right because that is correct. If you give me y equals -1/8 x squared, that is also correct. Both of them are correct. I just need one of them. You can give me both if you want. I just need one of those two. Because if you jump straight to y equals -1/8 x squared, that is fine. That is the answer. Questions on 16. I want to look at 18. Vertex does not help us to tell us which one of the two equations it is because it's HK no matter which one we have. Focus, there's one of two equations for the focus. H plus P comma K or H comma K plus P. The plus P is going to go whichever one changed. Vertex is 0, 0. The focus is -10, 0. H or K, which one changed? H. So we would want H plus P comma K. We are not using H comma K plus P. You understand how we picked one of the two? Yes? Reference sheet. Which one has H plus P comma K? Well, that'd be our equation. X equals A times Y minus K squared plus H. Because again, we keep going back to this thing. And I need to find A, H, and K. Vertex gave us H and K. They're both 0. It also told us that H plus P is -10. The focus is a little bit nicer than the vertex, especially with this here. Because our H is 0. So 0 plus P is what? Just P. P equals -10. Don't really care what P is. I want to know what A is. A is equal to 1 over 4 P. Now again, at this point, you can stick that right in the calculator, let it do 1 over 4 times -10. It gives you -1 over 40. Questions on how we got A, H, and K? All right, now at this point here, we plug all this back into the calculator, or not in the calculator, the formula. X equals -1 over 40. Y minus 0 squared plus 0. Both of them are the right answer. One of them's a little bit simpler. One of them's a little bit condensed. It's condensed. Questions on this so far? And again, with our x equals, y equals, make sure you're putting h and k in the right place. This one here didn't have big impact because h and k were the same. And that holds true even if h and k are both not 0. If both of them were 1. Still. We ready to look at 20 through 23? One of those in particular that y'all want to look at. 20. Now this is a little different than the ones we did previously in that it's asking for the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. It's asking for all 4. The previous one just didn't ask for the vertex. This one wants it. Now, we're going to find A, H, and K, but the main reason we find A is to find P. P is what we need for the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. Now, A is what? 1/8. H is coming from inside the parentheses. Since it's -3 inside the parentheses, it comes out as +3. Outside the parentheses is our K. Since it's outside the parentheses, it stays the same. Since it's +2, it stays +2. If it was -2, it would be -2. Questions on A, H, and K? We need P. P is 1/4A. 1/4 times 1/8. Now at this point here, we can plug it back into the calculator. 1/4 times 1/8 is 2. So the value of P is 2. Okay. Now at this point here, again, going back to the reference sheet, since we have y equals vertex is going to be the point H, comma, K. Focus is the point H, comma, K plus P. Directrix, y is equal to K minus P, an axis of symmetry. X is equal to H. Again, I'm pulling these general forms straight from the reference sheet. You don't have to write it next to it on the test. I would just be looking straight right there. You don't have to rewrite that other side out. I'm writing it out so we can look at it and see. Now the next thing, first thing I'm going to just do H and K. Anything that we have to actually calculate, we're going to leave for a second. Vertex is HK. H is 3, K is 2. The vertex is 3, 2. Focus is H, comma, K plus P. Well, H is 3. We'll leave K plus P for a minute. Directrix, K minus P, I'll leave it alone. Axis of symmetry, X is equal to H. X is equal to 3. Again, we have over 80% of this done. We have, even if you leave it here, you got 80% of this question right. Kind of nice, yes? Because I do give you points for the directrix part, y equals, and the axis of symmetry, x equals. You get points for that. The only thing we need to calculate is what? K plus P and K minus P. Well, K plus P would be 2 plus 2. 4. So the focus is 3, 4. K minus P. 2 minus 2 is, for the directrix is y equals 0. That's it. Questions on this here? We're ready for the next one. 21 or, I'm trying to remember the next one that's x equals. 22. Do we want to look at 21 or 22? 21. Match it up to the general form. X is equal to a times y minus k squared plus h. We'll need the values of a, h, and k, and the reason we need a, h, and k Well, we only need A to find P, and we need H and K to find the other values. A in our case is 4. K comes from inside the parentheses. And it'd be -5 since it's +5 inside. It comes out as negative. Hopefully you notice in a pattern, anytime we pull a number out from inside the general form, especially parentheses, it's switching that sign. H is outside. Since it's outside the parentheses, it stays exactly what it is. Since it's -1 outside, it stays -1. Now again, the only reason we found A was to find P. 1/4 times A, 1/4 times 4 is 1/16. Questions on how we found A, H, or K? Okay. We're ready to find the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. So the vertex H comma K, well, H is, K is -5. Focus, we haven't found H plus P yet, but K is still just -5. Haven't found X minus P, but the axis of symmetry would be Y equals -5. So let's start off with the first part we need to find, H plus P. Would be -1 plus 1/16. -1 plus 1/16 is -15/16. Let's see here. Right. Yes. This is -15/16. I'm thinking of the next one. Yep. -15/16. Questions on that there? Yep. Yep. And H minus P. -1 minus 1/16. -1 minus 1/16 is -17/16. And I think those that might be looking at the answer sheet for the next one, I think you got 23/12 or 25/12. Those are the same. I don't know why I decided to write it as a mixed number. But if you write it as a mixed number, I will take the answer. If you write it as an improper fraction, I will take that answer. If you write it as a decimal and it is the same decimal, I will take it. I don't care what form it's in. If it's the right answer, it's the right answer. But for most of these here, I would leave it in fraction form. All of them, the calculator will convert it to fractions. All the ones on the test are fractional. The calculator can put it into a fraction. I have checked. Questions on 21 on how we found A, H, and K and took A and found P. We good with these here? Yes? All right. The next one. They give us the vertex and the focus, and we want to find the equation. Now, the vertex, no matter which equation, is always going to be HK. We'll have H comma K in either one. Now, the focus is going to be one of two forms, H plus P comma K, or H comma K plus P. It's going to be one of these two here. Now, the main way that we can tell the difference, especially with focus, is which one changed. Either the H or K changed from vertex to focus. H, because we went from 7 to 14. So we're not using our H comma K plus P. We're using the H plus P comma K because the H value is not the same in the focus. Because in the focus, it's 14. In the vertex, it is 7. Technically, H is still 7. But the way it looks in the focus, it changed. Yes? So that's the one we had. Now that's nice because now we can look at the reference sheet again and see which one has h plus p comma k. Well, that's our x is equal to a times y minus k squared plus h. Now the vertex told us h and k. Well, the only value we're missing is a, yes? So even if I took what I had at this point, we'd have y minus k, y minus 3 squared, plus h, plus 7. The only thing we're missing is the value of a. Now to find a, we need to find p. According to the general form, h plus p is equal to 14. Well, the value of h we found in the vertex to be 7. At this point we solve, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides, telling us p is 7. And again, the only reason we found p was to find a. Questions on this so far? So once we find p, we plug it into our 1 over 4p to find a, which tells us it is 1 over 28. Plug a, h, and k into our equation, and we are done with this one here. Questions on this here? Questions on any of this so far? All right, let's look at one with a direct 6. We'll do this one here. Vertex is still hk. Now we only have one equation. Well, we have two equations for direct 6. One of them is x equals h minus p. The other is y equals k minus p. Here it told us the direct 6 is y equals. So it has to be the y equals k minus p. It also means the general form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And again, where we got that from was the general form. Because again, it's the only one that has y equals k minus p, so I refer back to see which one has it. That's the one that has it. We need a, h, and k. Well, we have h. H is what? -6. K is -4. And k minus p, because we need to find p to find a, is told to us to be 2, yes? What's k? Yes, -4. I don't know why I'm spaced out for a second. -4 minus p is 2. To solve for p, we would first add 4 to both sides, telling us negative p is equal to 6. At this point, we divide both sides by -1, telling us p is, yes, -6. Thank you. I about put the wrong answer. P is -6. But the main reason we find p is to find a is equal to 1 over 4 times -6. And when we type that into the calculator, it will tell us a is -1 over 24. And at this point, we'll plug a, h, and k in. Well, our -6 inside the parentheses is going to give us +6. Plus -4 is the same as -4. If you leave it as negative and plus a negative, that is fine. That is the same answer. Or we can simplify it to this here. Questions on any of this so far? So we feel good with these two here. If you do have questions on the others, ask me about it. And if we have time, we'll go back over it. Also, there is the full video online. I did all these online, so you can check the others if you do have questions. We ready for 28 through 33? They're not on the test. 28 through 33 is not on the test, so we're going to skip through those. A little disappointed there. Yeah. So again, as I said, everything on the test is on the review, but not everything on the review will be on the test. So I cut those out. Last thing we're looking at is this here. This here is asking for the vertex, axis of symmetry, and the x-intercepts. So again, reference sheet, we're going to match it up to the general form. And the general form for this here is the x-intercept form. So this here is that second row farthest to the right. Yep. You're good. So this is this one here. Two reasons we know this here. One is it's kind of set up in that way, and two, it's asking for the x-intercepts. So x-intercept form is our f of x or y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. On the reference sheet I used y, but y and f of x are the same thing. Now the main thing we need to find is the value of p and q. P and q are both inside the parentheses. Since one of them is -7, it comes out as +7. Since the other is +3, it comes out as -3. The one we define as p and the one we define as q does not matter. We just need one of them to be p and the other to be q. Because once we have that, we can find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and our x-intercepts. And the x-intercepts are going to be 2 points. X-intercepts are p, 0 and q, 0. X-symmetry, x is equal to p plus q over 2. And our vertex is p plus q over 2, f of p plus q over 2. All this here, we can get the x-intercepts without doing really any calculations, because the y value of the x-intercepts will always be 0. Our value of p, 7, q is -3. The order in which we place these 2 points doesn't matter, because we can do -3, 0 and 7, 0, or 7, 0 and -3, 0. I just need both of those there. Don't flip the x and y values though. But the way that the order in which we list the 2 points doesn't matter. You just have to have them both. Questions on this so far? You're ready to do the first calculation for this problem. P plus q over 2. Well, p is 7 plus -3 over 2. We're adding the p and q values together and dividing by 2. Seven plus -3 over 2 is 2. And we'll plug 2 back into our p plus q over 2. Gives us the x value of the vertex and what our axis of symmetry is equal to. Questions on this so far? Because the only thing we have left is the f of p plus q over 2. Yes? We're going to treat it the same as our f of -b over 2a. Take that value of 2 and plug it back into the function. So for us here, we're going to have 1/4 times 2 minus 7 times 2 plus 3. Nope, thought I got that wrong. 2 minus 7 times 2 plus 3. -25/4. questions on this here? Questions on any of this so far? There's no other questions. So that is the review sheet. It's not the whole review sheet, but that is at least a question from everything off the review sheet. Number 28, we didn't talk about. That one is bonus. Number 28 is the bonus question, where you're given the focus and directrix. All the ones on the test will give you vertex, focus, vertex, directrix for those. Focus directrix is bonus. I do have it in the full video. Actually, we have one. We have a minute. So, unfortunately, we don't have time to go over it, but we did go everything on the test. First half of the test will be tomorrow. So it's about 13 questions. It'll be tomorrow, 13 questions Friday. I cut it pretty much straight in half so that y'all can get it done. Y'all can definitely get those done. And I think you notice most of the time taken to do these is less calculating, more writing than anything else.